Okay, so we'll take a look at authentication now, and what we can do inside a SignalR hub is we can specify the authorize attribute in here. So no anonymous users would be able to access or connect to our particular hub here. And that's good because we want this to be only for our authorized users. And what we need to do this slightly differently to how we handled it in the API controllers, because SignalR or WebSockets cannot send an authentication header. What we have to use is a query string with SignalR, and what we need to do is we need to head over to our identity service extensions, and inside here what we're going to do is add something to lists, so that for SignalR we can always use a query string, whereas for our API controllers it's just going to use the authentication header as we've been using so far. So what we do to achieve this, inside our add authentication, what we'll do is we'll just come down below the options that we specified for the token validation parameters, and we'll add some more options. We'll say options, and then we go to the events, and then we'll say equals new JWT bearer events. And inside here what we want to do is target the on message received. And what we'll do is we'll pass through the context, and this is going to be our HTTP context, and add an arrow. And then inside here what we can do is say var access token equals, and we're going to say context.request.query, and what we want to get from this is the access token. Now this needs to be specific because SignalR by default will send up our token as a query string with the key of access_token. And then what we want to do is check the path of this request. Where's it coming to? Because like I said, we only want to do this for SignalR. So what we'll do is we'll specify path, and we'll say context.http-context.request.path. And then what we want to do is see if we actually have an access token, see if we've got our JWT token. So what we'll do, we'll say if the string is not null or empty, so we'll add the not operator, and then say is null or empty, and then we'll pass through our access token. And then we'll add a double ampersand, and we want to check that the path, and we're going to say starts with segments, and we're going to specify /hubs. And this needs to match what we used inside our startup class. Now we're going to have more than one hub, so we're going to also have a hub for messages, so we're just going to use hubs / as the path that we want to use here. And I don't want a semicolon there, but inside the if statement what we'll do then is say context.token equals the access token. And then what we can do inside here is say return task and say completed task, but we need to bring in system threading tasks here. And then we can specify completed task, and we just need to add another semicolon at the end there. So let's just move this down. So this allows our client to send up the token as a query string. But when we do this, we also need to supply something else to our cause configuration, because what we also need to allow here, let's just bring a few of these down. And what we also need to allow is, say, allow credentials. We need to supply this when we're using SignalR due to the way that we now send up our access token or our token. So that takes care of the basic server-side configuration. What we'll take a look at next is what we need to do on the client.